So welcome everybody to another Wednesday night meditation and Dharma talk brought to you by the BSWA Care Group. My name's Sandra, and I'd just like to tell you a bit about the care group and the care line that we have operating in the background on Wednesday nights. So the Buddhist Care Group is a collection of good-hearted people looking to provide service to the community. So every Wednesday night we give these meditations and talks. We come together as friends, we learn, we meditate together, and then we enjoy tea and a meal afterwards, or snacks afterwards. And I'm really excited tonight because I'd like to tell you about our retreat. So the care group are planning a retreat. So if you live in Perth, COVID's a bit tricky with our border closures and whatnot, but if you live in Perth, we are going to be holding a retreat at Jana Grove from the 3rd to the 5th of December. And we'd like you to come join us for a weekend. There'll be some insightful Buddhist teachings around the theme of listen, reflect and connect. And there's going to be a big emphasis on learning reflective listening skills, telling our stories, learning how to listen. It's a lost art. And learning how we can care for others. And there'll be opportunities too to find out a bit more about the different activities of the care group and how you might get involved. One of our main activities is the care line, and I'd just like to let you know that the care line is open at the moment and the numbers are at the bottom of the screen. And just a little bit about the care line. So the care line's a listening ear service. So if you're feeling a little lonely, you feel like you'd like to talk to someone, these are strange times, to say the least, and sometimes it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to reach out to someone. So the care line, it operates here at Dhammaloka, so we're not at the monasteries, and it's staffed by lay people. So we're lay people just like you, living our life, and we're here to listen. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce tonight's speaker and ask Chris Perrier to come forward. So Chris is a much-loved member of the Buddhist Society, and he is going to come and guide us in a meditation and a Dharma talk this evening. So thank you, Chris.
So last time I gave a talk, I was listening to it on the internet afterwards, and I got a little bit soft, so I think I have to have this fairly close to me. I guess if it gets too close, we'll start buzzing, but... Okay, so tonight's topic is moving to the front edge of now. And that is a important place in Buddhism, being in the present, being in the now, because really, certainly in Tibetan Buddhism, they have the idea that the eternal now is always here, and that the future and the past and the present are three subsets of now. And when you begin to get into meditation and go into some level of stillness and quietness, there is a sense of losing a sense of time. There can be a sense of losing the immediate sense of your own body, and there can be a movement into a sense of spaciousness. So this practice tonight is a little bit past what I would call the meat and potatoes approach to meditation. Sit there, sit down, watch your breath go in, watch your breath go out. Well, that is very, very important, those elementary approaches to meditation. But after a while, the concentration begins to get more stabilised, and what actually happens is that we begin to fuse and become one with the meditation object. And that might be the breath, it could be the body, it could be a whole range of things. The Buddha gave many meditation objects for focusing on. But one of the characteristics of all of those is that there's a point at which we have a sense of moving into the object and becoming one with the object. And Ajahn Brahm talks about this when he talks about moving into the nimitta and moving into jhanas. We've all probably had these experiences of merging, and in our lay life, maybe in flow experiences, when we're maybe playing sport or making love and experiencing a sense of fusing in the moment with someone else. So too, it happens in meditation that one can actually begin to move more and more into that sense of dissolving who and what we are, being the doer, and giving over more and more to the experience of being, and that being starting to loosen its boundaries, so that the idea of a doer and a self who's doing the meditation begins to evaporate, and what we're left with is more a sense of presence, more a sense of presence. And so that's what this meditation is going to be about tonight. Moving into the situation where you might start off with the breath, and you might start off with just, as we're going to start tonight, we're going to start with the body, because we all have a body, and that's the best place to start. We need to arrive in the now. We need to begin to make ourselves available to what is here right now. What is present right now? As Thich Nhat Hanh said, that wonderful saying that he would advise for people practicing meditation, both on the mat and also moving through the world. I have arrived. I am home. And the most basic fundamental building block of moving into this experience of transcendence into the now is arriving in your own body. We oftentimes are not in our own bodies. We oftentimes, I think it was James Joyce who said that Mr. Jones, or whatever his name was in one of his novels, lived at a short distance from his body. And I think we oftentimes do live at a short distance from our body. It's called, in layman's terms, daydreaming. Or it goes through daydreaming in a professional perspective. It goes from daydreaming all the way through the scale to this end of the scale, which is called multiple personality disorder. And we have various stages along the way of this sense of displacement from the present moment and displacement from our own body. And in many ways, these places that we go to, there are a number of different places that are common hangouts, that are alternatives to being in the present moment. And one of them is to go to sleep. Or the mobile equivalent of sleep, which is living in zombie land, just walking through the world like the ghost that walks, here but not really present in the moment, functioning in life on what is called autopilot. And it's the word that's used a lot these days. Autopilot is a place to hang out when what is happening in our lives is uncomfortable or unbearable. Another place to hang out from the present moment is daydreaming and fantasy, as I've just mentioned. And another place to hang out is to get up in your head and analyse and sort out and have these conversations with yourself, or get up and give an interesting rationale of what's going on around you from an intellectual perspective. I certainly fall into that category of being a psychologist. It's an occupational hazard, but I think it comes partly with my personality as well. So we have different places that we can move to when the present moment becomes a little bit challenging or a little bit unbearable. And it's not a bad thing that you do these things. It's good to sleep. It's good to fantasize. It's good to actually allow creativity to give forth. It's good to have a rational perspective on the situation. But when we go to these places out of habit, we can oftentimes get a diminished sense of aliveness. And also the other thing is that going to those places is a way of oftentimes reassuring ourselves that we exist through our thinking processes, or not exist, which is one of the outpourings of the mind, the asanas, where we don't want to exist. And the reality of the situation is that we have what's called the present moments. We don't have one present moment. We have lots of present moments all the time. Click, click, click. Ajahn Brahm talks about it, and many other spiritual teachers talk about it. It's like, where you had those little drawings when you're a kid and you flick it through, and each of the drawings, when flicked through, you can see the actual, the character in the drawings moving. And that's, of course, the way that movie realms work. We've got many, many different images that the light shines on them one after another, and you get the sense of movement, that there's something that is moving, something that is solid, and there's something that is moving. That's different from the present. That's different from now, and now is always here. And we oftentimes get caught up in the present, in those little splices of now, called the present moment. And then we can head off in a tangent this way, or we can head off in a tangent that way, or we can make up a story, or we can lead off into a daydream, or we can maybe shut it all down and go to sleep. So our meditation today is to see if we can actually just learn to experience being more and more in the now as it rises up and lets go. As Ajahn Chah said, being present and letting go, arriving and letting go, being present and letting go, constantly, constantly, constantly. As soon as it's there, you let it go. As soon as it's there, you let it go. As soon as it's there, you let it go. You think about the implications of that. If you get to the really front edge of that process, who's the you who's doing it? There is no you. There is no you. There's simply receiving and letting go, and receiving and letting go, and receiving and letting go, and receiving and letting go. And what we've found, and many of the great masters already know this, but they're starting to sort of establish this in neuroscience, is that it is possible to live in that state of receiving and letting go, and receiving and letting go, and receiving and letting go, without having a conductor who's running the whole show. Ajahn Brahm talks about the idea, he talks for years, he's been talking about the idea of the driverless bus. And that's what he's talking about. This idea of receiving and letting go, and receiving and letting go. And what's important in that process is to be very clear about what our intentions are in life, what our goals and our visions are, because the mind itself has got a capacity to find a way to realise those realities without us consciously using willpower. And so there is only one catch about all this. If you, as you move into the front edge of now, we have to almost like learn to live in a state where we're not calling the shots. I'll give you an example. We have these experiences quite often in our lives. And they're really quite beneficial. What we know, and what we know from research brain science, is that the quality of surprise. Oh, wow. There's no you in that. It's just you, the experience becomes one. There's no you in that. That Zen, in Zen they have a big training associated with don't know. What's going on? Don't know. It's not, what's going on? Watch out. It's like, don't go, what's going on? Don't know mind. Don't know. Oh. There is no me. There's just don't know. These are very positive. And awe is another one. You walk around, you're driving, and you walk around the corner of the path on the mountain trek, and boom, out comes that amazing vista. And it's just, that one. That sense of awe, that sense of fusing with the now. Okay? There is a sense of getting before the arising of a sense of self. There's not me going, oh. No, there's not me going, oh. It's just, like that. That's really healthy. Psychologically, it's very, very healthy to have those experiences. And so in deeper meditation, we are often invited to have these very experiences where there's a sense of trusting that we'll be okay when we're turning down the dial on running the show and allowing ourselves to be content with simply journeying towards whatever it is the object of our meditation, as opposed to achieving it, getting it, nailing it. Okay? Inherent in that process of giving more value to the journeying rather than the arriving requires a sense of trust, requires a sense of faith. And that all sounds great, but the problem is that oftentimes, and I can speak from my professional experience here, trusting ourselves, trusting others is a major, major issue for a great many of us in our lives. It's not just, oh yeah, I'll just trust. And people have all sorts of difficulties and there are all sorts of capacities to trust themselves and to trust others, to trust, in this case, the teachings of the Buddha, to trust the teachings of our teacher. That idea of, oh yeah, all you have to do is just let go and trust is an acquired process, and it's done by small increments. I oftentimes tell in my professional capacity, lots of people have this issue of trust, like I trust, I don't trust. It's like a light switch, off, on. If they cross me once, I'll never trust them again. That sort of mentality. And I say, no, look, there's probably a lot of value in the land in between trust and don't trust, that we might trust things to a certain extent. And trust, I think, is more, rather than a light switch, off on light switch, it's more a dimmer switch between off and on. And I think that is really relevant in the practice of meditation, in the practice of letting go. We don't just flick a switch and let go, although, maybe some of us do, but most of us struggle with the whole idea of letting go. And our capacity to let go more and more into that experience of the flow, the bliss, is an acquired taste. It's an acquired skill. It's not something that you just read out of a book and do it. And so it needs to be, we need to establish a firm grounding in our body. We need to establish a sense of safety in our body. and that can be problematic, especially if you had trauma. We need to be able to be okay about beginning to feel power and energy in our body when we are meditating. And that can be problematic for many people as well, because they may have a situation where, they form some rules in their life that, no, I don't do powerful, or if I do powerful, it gets really powerful and I get really manic. There's a lot of people who do meditation and end up getting off the cushion and just being really manic. Myself, as one of them, I've actually struggled with mild mania from meditation practices in my misspent spiritual youth. It's very easy, and most meditation teachers don't understand that idea of generating energy and then having it just go straight into your unconscious conditioning of, wherever you've come from, and creating a sort of a little bad habit becomes a big bad habit. So, it's important for us to actually be grounded within ourselves and to know what groundedness means and to trust the process of allowing ourselves to really let go into the present moment. And as we get more and more established in the present moment, in our present, the now, okay, in the series of present moments, because as I said, present moments are coming and going, coming and going. As we get more established in the body, we can begin to feel a sense of pleasantness or unpleasantness. It helps to relax the body in whatever way we can. And then we may become aware of a certain feeling of like or dislike about what's going on, either in our body or in our emotions or in our thoughts. And it helps then to try and develop a stance of balance and equanimity with liking, with pleasant and with unpleasant. This is the second of the 5 khandhas, which is the sensory experience. And you've got what's called Vedana, or the hedonic tone of sensory experience, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And as we learn how to actually be with some things which are unpleasant, maybe my aching back or something like that, or as we learn how to be with an idea that floats through the mind and we maybe get excited about it, but we pull ourselves back to that sense of equanimity in remembering that we're here doing meditation, not planning our shopping list or working out what we're going to do next week. We move more and more into the sense of calming down. So we calm that sense of aversion and grasping down and move more towards the middle ground of balance and equanimity. By the way, neutral Vedana is not equanimity. Neutral Vedana tends to actually promote, that's like not feeling pleasant and not feeling unpleasant. It's just a sort of well, by definition it's neutral. But what happens when you're in neutral Vedana is the predisposition for delusion, for fantasy, for daydreaming. That's where daydreaming occurs. Nothing much going on here. I think I'll just go boom and think about what I'm going to do next week. So these are things that happen in meditation. Hey, let's go to the third level, sanya, the idea of perceptions and Vedana, hedonic tone Vedana and perception sanya, all sort of mixed together. Sometimes one comes first, sometimes the other comes first. But the idea of not maybe giving so much importance to thinking and analysing and sorting things out and giving, a great deal of mental, emotional energy to what's going on in our mind. One of the really interesting things that Ajahn Tanisro in Canada, he said, Can you have a perception run through your mind, and when you realise that your mind has wandered, can you just drop it halfway through it, or do you have to think through the perception to the end, and then you bring your mind back to the present moment? there's a sense of, I just want to finish this off. And then I'll bring myself back to my mantra or my breath or my this or my that. It's really good discipline to cut it off right there as soon as you see, rather than, I'll just do it to the end and then I'll come back. Because it's kind of interesting to follow the line of thought through. And of course, that's where you kind of like get seduced away from now. And so, with meditation, with our experience of meditation, we are more than our body, we are more than our energies, we are more than our thinking. There are our thoughts, the content of our thoughts, samskaras or mind objects, the things that run through our mind. Do we identify with those? Our favourite thoughts or our thoughts that we don't want to know about? And of course the last one is knowing, consciousness. As we go into deep meditation, we learn how to begin to be with all of these at the same time. All of these at the same time. Resting with a sense of equanimity while all of these things are going on. And as we do, is we can continue to receive and let go, receive and let go. We can actually get out past our sense of ourselves. We can get out past before the sense of our own thinking processes. We can get arrive to the place before likes and dislikes. And this is the now. This is the now. It does require us to get before our sense of ourself, and that's where it can be a little bit scary. Okay? So, but it's an acquired skill, and as you do that, you learn to bathe in the sense of presence of the now and be less self-conscious. Know that it's going to be okay, that you can, as Ajahn Brahm says, the driverless bus, you can take your hands off the steering wheel and let the whole process go. And as you do, and you have to do that if you're going to go into jhanas, you cannot get into jhanas while you're running the show. It's just impossible. The good news is that as you begin to do this on the cushion, you begin to experiment. It's possible to experiment with doing this off the cushion in daily life. And so we don't have to drive and control as much in the situation. We can be open to not knowing. We can be open to surprise. We can be open to serendipity and synchronicity in our lives. And life gets a lot more exciting when we allow that sort of stuff to come into our lives. So let's do a little meditation now, stepping you through these phases and see how we go. This is going to be a very simple meditation leading into the really front edge of now. So just make your positions comfortable, please. And start by beginning to relax your body. Just do a body scan. Starting to feel your body and the sense of groundedness of your body. Now, if you're sitting in the chair, that may mean the sense of your back against the chair, the sense of your buttocks pushing into the chair and the underside of your thighs, and the contact points of your feet on the ground. If you're sitting cross-legged, well, then it's going to be your legs on the ground and your cushion and your butt. But begin to, as the ancient yogis would say, make your body like a mountain, kaya sternum, solid, still. And give yourself over and make a determination at adhitthana right now. This is my time for meditation. This is my time for letting go of everything and giving myself over to what's happening right now. And right now, our focus of attention is in the body. You can imagine, as it were, a cord from the crown of your head, just lifting your head, drawing it up. You can imagine your feet or your legs beginning to extend down through maybe a form of things like roots, down into the ground, so that you can feel very, very grounded. And as the head is slowly pulled upwards, there's a sense of relief as the shoulders peel back. The chest opens up. We can soften around the side of the eyes. And relax the jaws, the pit of the throat, the centre of the chest, the abdomen. These are the places where the vagus nerve runs. The vagus nerve is responsible for opening up, causing us to relax, feel connected to ourselves, connected to each other. And of course, as Ajahn Brahm would say, but also as the vagus nerve people would say, bring a smile to your face, a half smile, a Mona Lisa smile. And begin to become available to what is right now in your body. Available to your own physical presence. And what this availability means is opening up to much more of a dimensionality of feeling and experiencing in your body and your mind as you simply sit here. Having a sense of friendliness towards your own body and your own mind. You can scan through the body, starting at the crown of the head, spilling down around, loosening the muscles around the back of the head, the jaws. Maybe going inside and loosening the tongue, the teeth. Paying attention, as I said, to the side of the eyes and then to the eye sockets, the eyebrows. The bridge of the nose. The muscles at the side of the mouth. Flowing down to the back of the neck, the front of the neck. Just experimenting what it's like with opening up in the chest cavity, the shoulders, comfortably back, chest comfortably opening. And dropping down to the pit of the ribs. It's a place where we hold a lot of emotion. Moving round to the back, to the spine, and the pelvic girdle, Feeling that sense of earth and how the pelvic girdle and the legs, thighs and knees and calves and feet are in contact with solidity, solidness. And as the body becomes more and more still, know that this is safe to do this. Know that this is safe to let go of your concerns. There may be mental momentums or emotional momentums that you brought into this room from your day to day. But this, right here, right now, is safe to just be here. Feel that sense of safetiness. Feel that sense of groundedness and relaxation in the body. If your mind goes off to daydreaming or planning, bring it back gently. Taking it back to your contact points. Now we can further resource ourselves by feeling connected with ourselves or recalling situations where we've felt connected with others, with loved ones, where people have seen us. Where people have included us. Where you felt accepted. Maybe a situation where you've remembered being liked. Or deeply loved. Being truly seen by another. Included in the group. Really being accepted. Notice that the way they behave told you that they accept you. Remember a situation, interaction, it was clear the other people around you, the other person liked you. He was giving up those signals. He liked you, enjoyed your company. And finally, maybe a situation where you felt loved. Pick all or any one of those, or any combination of them. Notice what that feels like in the body be seen, included, accepted, liked or loved. Let go of the imagery associated with it and hold the feeling in the body. This is lifting your hedonic tone. Resourcing happiness, contentment, connection. Staying with the body. Staying with that feeling to the extent to which you can. Allowing yourself to receive it. If it's there, as the Buddha said, with the right efforts, it's a good state. See if you can keep it around, make it go longer. And if you lose it, just reinstate it again. And from that sense of feeling connected in the body, that sense of feeling safe and connected, bring to mind now a time when you felt full. This was enough. This is enough. Bring to mind times when you felt a sense of fullness, contentment, an absence of drivenness, an absence of povertiness, poverty of mind, an absence of FIFO, fear of missing out. This is enough. It's not perfect, but it's enough. The glass is half full rather than half empty. Feel what this feels like. This is setting up the causes for reducing drivenness and addictions, or poverty consciousness. This is enough. Allow that sense of fullness to spread throughout your whole body. And into your mind, into your emotions. And you might find as you do this, the sense of liking and wanting or aversion and pushing away becomes a little bit more diminished, and we move more towards a centre of equanimity. And even taking it a step further into sanya, into perceptions. You know, we don't even really have to worry about the perceptions too much now, because this is enough. So the process of thinking and analysing and sorting out, making divisions, classifying good and bad, just becoming less and less relevant as we give ourselves over to a sense of stillness and peace and enoughness. And beginning to let it, or allow yourself to observe it, not only in the body but in the mind and in the emotions as well, and mentally, so that it's not that important to think anymore that much. Stillness and tranquility can just hang out. We're giving more value to quietness and stillness. And see if we can get to the leading edge of these perceptions. Seeing these perceptions starting to occur in our minds. It's like watching bubbles come up from a deep pond. Can't see where they come from, but at a certain level you can see them start to form and then pop on the surface. Take your attention down deeper and deeper into the pond, to see the place before the bubbles arise. Deep, deep stillness. Soft, non-judgmental, accepting. And notice the relief of not having to run the show. That the mind, in fact it's more than the mind, it's reality, has a sense of stillness that's already existing inside of you and all around you. And see if you can actually allow yourself to go into that stillness which is inside in the internal universe, but also outside into spaciousness, so that there is a sense of spaciousness that starts to occur. And the body is just one of the things that is in that spaciousness, but the spaciousness is everywhere, out in all directions. And there's a benignness of that spaciousness. It's safe. Let your awareness mingle with that spaciousness and notice the sense of stillness. And within the stillness, you may even be aware of a sense of softness, gentleness, perhaps goodwill. Remember what Ajahn Chah said, receiving and letting go, receiving and letting go, receiving and letting go, and going back to the new now. The new now, receiving and letting go again, until you begin to trust flowing and letting go. And see if you can, as the Buddha urged us to do, begin to radiate out that stillness, that sense of softness and gentleness in all directions. As he said in the Metta Sutra, radiating in all directions, upwards to the sky, downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded. Just play around with that. Give yourself over to that spaciousness, of softness, of gentleness, that has a knowingness about it. And you may even notice in that space the sense of things rising and passing away, the components, the sense of feeling, the experience of your body, ideas. Nothing really solid. Everything interrelated and interconnected together and causal. One thing leads to another. They're all interrelated. And in all of that spaciousness and everything in it, is there anything that's solid, permanent, a constant abiding sense of self? This is not an intellectual exercise, this is a feeling exercise. What does it feel like? Give yourself over to trust. To trust and surrender into this space of now. The 10th century mystic, Tibetan mystic Tilopa, he gave 6 ways of resting the mind in its natural state. Don't reminisce or go to the past. Don't anticipate or go to the future. Don't engage in constant thinking about the present. Don't analyse or particularize on a particular subject going out into the world. Don't try and control anything, inside or out. Rest. The last and most important of the 6 ways. Rest. rest in the natural experience, abiding the natural deep nature of mind. Give yourself over to resting. No controlling. No sorting out. Analysing. No reminiscing. No anticipating. No day-to-day thinking. Rest. Rest. Rest in the deep nature of stillness of the mind. So now I'm going to make a suggestion for those people who are listening on YouTube that you might want to continue this for another 20 minutes for the full hour. But for those of you who are here now, I want you to maintain this space that you're in and very gently just open your eyes a little bit so you've got a blurred eyes and you're holding this space. Stay in this space. Don't open your eyes too much. See if you can begin to hold this space with your eyes just split open or half open. This is the beginning of learning how to take this off the cushion and holding that sense of spaciousness that we've been talking about in the meditation and taking it out into the world rather than abruptly changing gears, getting off your cushion and getting back into your old space. When you're ready, you can begin to open your eyes a little bit more. Keep the space though. Keep the space. Stay in the spaciousness. Begin to feel that sense of the space between things, joining us all here and joining everything. Feel what that feels like. Feel the spaciousness that pervades everything, the roof, the floor, each of our bodies. And when you're ready, you can fully open your eyes, keeping the space as we ring the bell. Okay, so see if you can just stay in that space, hold the space. What's it like? Because people around here don't normally do this in this place, what I'm just doing with you here now. It's not usual. Hold the space, but look around you now. Look around at each other, look around at the world around you. But from a sense of connectedness, the space is connecting us. And there are things here, but we're all glued together by this spacious presence. One of the things that really helps people de-stress is to just move their shoulder and their eyes around. It actually loosens up and activates the ventral vagus nerve, and that is a very healthy thing to do. Move your head, move around. All right, let's leave it there today. That was a 40-minute meditation. Any questions, queries, complaints? Otherwise, we'll close the evening.
You've been asked for complaints.
Well, one has to be even-handed about these things. Good. Care group? Do I need to say something?
You do.
Okay. The care group is open again.
The care group's always open.
Okay.
That's right.
Here we go.
So just want to thank you on behalf of the care group for coming to give this talk.
Thank you.
And just to remind people that, so I got our AV friends to put the email at the bottom of the screen. So if you're interested in coming along to the retreat, to listen, reflect, connect, retreat, then send us an email, care@bswa.org, or you can shoot a message on the WhatsApp and we'll pick it up there too. So thank you.
Okay.